The most dangerous trap isn't failure for you. It's succeeding at things that don't actually matter. I discovered this after achieving many things which society told me would bring fulfillment, only to feel more empty than when I started. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 essential lessons I've learned that completely redirected my life's trajectory. Now, these are not abstract concepts, but practical principles I've tested through decades of my own life. If you're tired of feeling like you're missing something despite doing everything just right, this video is just for you. The gift of mortality. Why time scarcity creates value for you. I remember the day I turned 40. I stood in front of the mirror and a realization washed over me. I'd spent half my life pursuing goals I'd never consciously chosen. They were handed to me by family expectations, social pressures, and sometimes cultural norms. This awareness wasn't just intellectual, it hit me like a physical force, leaving me momentarily breathless. Our mortality isn't simply a biological reality. It's the ultimate deadline that infuses everything else with meaning. Think about it. If we lived forever, would anything truly matter? Would you feel any urgency to call that friend, write that book, or tell someone you love them? It's the finite nature of our existence that makes each moment significant. Most of us operate on a dangerous assumption that time is abundant. We push what matters most into some fictional future. I'll spend time with my children when this project is done. I'll pursue my passion after retirement. I'll repair that relationship next year. But that perfect moment often never materializes. The average human gets approximately 4,000 weeks of life. That number shocked me when I first heard it. I started tracking my weeks on a single sheet of paper, each box representing 1 week of my remaining life expectancy. The visual representation immediately shifted something in me. Meetings I previously thought important suddenly were not. Conversations I had been avoiding suddenly became urgent. Time spent on social media seemed absurd compared to time with those I love. The ancient philosophers practiced what they call memento mori, remembering death. Isn't this morbid? It's clarifying. The Stoics specifically recommended rehearsing our mortality daily, not to create anxiety, but to eliminate it by focusing on what deserves our attention. When trivial concerns arise, they dissolve against the backdrop of our limited time. I've adopted a simple question that transforms ordinary decisions into meaningful choices. Would I be satisfied with this being my final contribution? This question helps me navigate career decisions, relationship conflicts, and even how I spend my Tuesday afternoons. The research confirms what philosophy has long suggested. Those who maintain awareness of life's brevity report greater satisfaction and significantly less regret in their final years. They don't waste decades chasing approval or accumulating things that ultimately mean nothing. The urgency created by acknowledging a mortality doesn't make life stressful, it makes it precious. It transforms someday into today. It forces priorities into crystal clarity. When you truly understand that your time is limited, you stop trying to be everything to everyone. You begin the essential work of becoming who you were meant to be. You recognize that saying no to what doesn't matter, it allows you to say yes to what actually does. And in that awareness, you find a peculiar freedom that only comes from embracing life's most fundamental truth. Let's talk about the escaping the prison of belief, examining your mental operating system. For nearly 3 decades, I allowed inherited belief systems to direct my choices without questioning them. I found myself defending ideas I had never truly examined, living someone else's vision for what my life should be. The turning point came when I realized I was arguing passionately for beliefs I had never personally investigated. I was living on intellectual autopilot, Think about the mental operating system running in your background. Your thoughts, your beliefs system given to you from your parents, society, your childhood, the religious beliefs, and they were all uploaded by your family, culture. Many powerful institutions benefit when you outsource your thinking to their doctrines. They gain influence while you surrender autonomy without recognizing the transaction is even taking place. Your mind becomes territory they control rather than the foundation of your freedom. The issue isn't having beliefs. We all need mental frameworks to navigate complexity. The problem emerges when these frameworks transform from tools into cages. When a belief system positions itself beyond questioning, it creates intellectual dependence. Any system that discourages critical examination isn't serving your growth. Let me repeat that for you. Any system that discourages your critical examination skills isn't serving your growth. It's ensuring your compliance, and it is a controlled system. Research reveals that unexamined beliefs create psychologically blind spots within you that cause us to filter information very selectively. We unconsciously seek evidence that confirms what we already believe while dismissing contradictory data. This confirmation bias keeps us intellectually comfortable but stagnant all the time. We see the world through increasingly narrow filters. The Stoics, 2000 years back, offered a powerful alternative in what they call the inner citadel. Personal operating system built on principles you've thoughtfully examined. This approach involves developing your own ethical framework based on reason and virtues you've consciously chosen. It's like starting from a clean slate. The Stoics emphasized wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance as cardinal virtues that guide meaningful living. Liberation begins when you distinguish between beliefs you inherited versus those you've consciously chosen after careful reflection. This isn't about rejecting everything from your past, but examining each principle to determine if it deserves even a place in your future. Healthy belief systems enhance your autonomy rather than diminishing it. They expand your capacity for your connection and understanding instead of creating separation. Ask yourself, does this belief make me more compassionate or more judgmental? Does it reduce or increase my fear? Does it lead to greater wisdom or greater rigidity? Moving from intellectual dependency to thoughtful conviction is a lifelong process. The goal isn't having all the answers, but developing better questions. I practice what the Stoics call an evening review, asking myself, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short of my own principles? How can I improve tomorrow? Your mind is the most personal territory. You deserve to consciously choose what grows there rather than simply managing the weeds others planted long ago. I've found one reliable test for evaluating your belief systems. And again, this is not about whether you should have some certainty in your life or not. What you should be asking is this: does this framework make me more compassionate and wise or more judgmental and rigid? Does it reduce or increase my fear? Does it encourage curiosity or certainty? Moving from intellectual dependency to thoughtful conviction is a lifelong process. The goal isn't having all the answers, but asking better questions. When you take responsibility for your mental operating system, you reclaim authorship of your life story. You move from passenger to driver, from unconscious reaction to conscious response. The most profound freedom isn't physical, but mental. The ability to examine a belief, holding it up to the light of your own experience and reason, and deciding for yourself if it deserves a place in your life. The impermanence principle, finding freedom in uncertainty. I was brought face to face with the truth that I've been avoiding a long time. Security is largely an illusion. All those things I had worked to establish, career, stability, relationships, even my sense of my own personal identity, I realized they were far more fragile than I'd allowed myself to believe. We humans have this peculiar tendency to treat impermanent things as if they last forever. We cling to possessions, relationships, and identities as though they're permanent fixtures in our lives, when in reality, everything carries an invisible expiration date. The job you depend on, the health you take for granted, the relationship that feels unshakable, none of it comes with guarantees. The Buddhists seem to call this principle anicca, impermanence. It's not just an abstract philosophical concept discussed in ancient texts alone, it's the fundamental nature of existence that most of us spend our lives desperately trying to ignore. We build elaborate mental structures to shield ourselves from this basic truth, and this resistance creates suffering. Something extraordinary happens when you fully accept that nothing is guaranteed. You develop two seemingly contradictory qualities: deeper appreciation and greater resilience. You value what you have because you understand it won't last forever. And you build strength to face change because you've stopped expecting permanence. I've found that most anxiety stems from the gap between our expectation of stability and the reality of constant change. We feel anxious because we're trying to force permanence onto an impermanent world. When you close that gap by accepting change as natural, much of your anxiety simply dissolves. This perspective isn't about living in fear of loss. Rather, it's just the opposite. It's about developing the inner strength to face whatever comes with equanimity rather than resistance. When change occurs, and it always will, you're prepared rather than shattered by it. The Stoics practice what they call negative visualization, a powerful technique where they imagine losing what they value. By mentally rehearsing the absence of someone or something important, you develop a profound sense of gratitude for it or their presence right now. This practice doesn't breed pessimism, but rather cultivates appreciation. When you truly understand that everything is temporary, you stop postponing joy and connection. You recognize that opportunities once missed may never return. The conversation you keep putting off with your parent, the dream you'll pursue someday, the relationship that needs attention but that you never give, all become more urgent when viewed through the lens of impermanence. Embracing impermanence doesn't make you passive, it makes you decisive. You recognize the true value of each moment and relationship because you understand their temporary nature. And in that recognition comes a freedom in the present while preparing wisely for the future. Purpose through service, solving problems that matter. When I was younger, I chased achievements like it was oxygen. The promotions, the recognition, the degrees. I collected them all, thinking each one would finally fill that nagging emptiness. It took me years to realize I was solving the wrong equation. Purpose isn't found through achievement. It's created through solving problems that matter to others. I've spent time with people society considers very successful. People who are CEOs, heads of discipline, directors, award winning professionals, wealthy entrepreneurs, yet the most fulfilled weren't those with impressive titles. They were people who had identified a specific problem they felt uniquely equipped to solve and committed themselves to addressing it. The difference was striking. One group chased status while the other pursued significance. Your purpose exists at the intersection of three elements: what you're naturally good at, what you genuinely enjoy doing, and what serves a real need in the world. When these three circles overlap, you've found your sweet spot. They call this your purpose map, the territory where your contribution matters the most. Many people approach purpose backward. They ask, what will make me happy? Instead of, whose problems am I uniquely positioned to solve? This simple shift changes everything. It moves the focus from consumption to contribution, from self to service. Finding your tribe, that specific group of people you're meant to serve, brings unexpected clarity. Once you know who you're serving, decisions about what to learn, how to grow, where to invest your time, they just become very clear and obvious. Your tribe becomes your compass, in fact. My own purpose crystallized when I stopped trying to impress everyone and started focusing on helping people who struggle with the same challenges I had overcome, which is how to be unstuck from a life of overwhelm and multiple priorities. The moment I narrowed my focus, my impact paradoxically expanded. I wasn't speaking to everyone anymore, I was speaking to someone who could relate to what I'm speaking about. Purpose isn't mystical. It's not waiting to be discovered through meditation or vision quests. It's a practical decision to commit to solving specific problems for specific people over time. It's built through consistent action, not revealed in a moment of enlightenment. Two questions transformed my approach. What problems do I care deeply about? And who would benefit most from my particular combination of skills and life experiences? These questions, cut through confusion, pointed me toward meaningful work. When you orient your life around service rather than self-fulfillment, something strange happens. Fulfillment finds you anyway. It becomes the byproduct rather than the goal. I watched this pattern repeat in hundreds of lives. Your unique combination of experiences, even the painful ones you might wish away, has prepared you to help others in ways no one else can. Those traumatic experiences you had in your life, those childhood experiences which still cause you PTSD kind of symptoms. Now, those challenges you faced aren't random obstacles, they're specialized training, equipping you to understand and serve people with such focus who are facing the same struggles. Now, that's not coincidence, that's purpose. The dual perspective, present gratitude and future hope. The greatest internal conflict I've experienced wasn't between good and evil, but between contentment and ambition. For years, I struggled with the seemingly impossible question: how do I fully appreciate what I have while simultaneously working towards something better? This tension felt unresolvable. I discovered that most mindfulness teachings, while valuable, create an unexpected problem. When practiced in isolation, they anchor people so firmly in present that they lose momentum towards creating a better future. This stagnation may feel peaceful temporarily, but it ultimately breeds a different kind of dissatisfaction, the regret of unrealized potential. Look around, and you'll notice most people inhabit one of two worlds. Some live entirely in the future, always planning, always striving, never arriving. Others remain completely absorbed in the present, finding peace but foregoing progress. Both approaches leave something essential behind. The breakthrough came when I realized the solution wasn't compromise but integration. Instead of choosing between present appreciation and future creation, I needed to develop the capacity to hold both perspectives simultaneously. This isn't about finding middle ground, but about expanding consciousness to embrace seemingly contradictory truths. I developed what I call dual perspective meditation. I spend equal time each morning in two mental spaces. First, appreciating what already exists in my life, then visualizing what could be. This practice trains the mind to maintain both awareness of current blessings and vision for future possibilities. Gratitude without vision leads to complacency, a comfortable but stagnant existence. So you need to be careful if you're following mindfulness alone that you don't stagnate in your life. Vision without gratitude creates perpetual dissatisfaction, always chasing but never catching up. The intersection between them, that's where the fulfillment lives. Research in positive psychology confirms this integration. Gratitude practices measurably increase present happiness levels, while clear future goals provide life with meaning and direction. We need both the contentment of appreciation and the energy of aspiration. For years, I mistakenly believed I needed to resolve the tension between contentment and ambition. The wisdom came in learning to live within the tension, allowing seemingly opposite truths to coexist. This isn't compromise, it's integration. Eastern philosophical traditions teach us to fully inhabit the present moment, while Western approaches emphasize progress and achievement. The integrated life draws wisdom from both, refusing to sacrifice either presence or potential. When you learn to celebrate what is while creating what could be, you escape the trap of postponed happiness, the belief that contentment awaits at some future achievement or acquisition. You discover that satisfaction exists now, even as you build towards tomorrow. The most profound freedom comes from this truth. You can be completely satisfied with your life today while still working to make tomorrow better. This dual perspective doesn't divide your attention, it completes it. In conclusion, these lessons represent more than abstract philosophy. They form a practical framework for living with intention in a world engineered to fragment your attention and distract you from what matters. Each principle builds upon the others, creating not just a way of thinking, but a way of being. The journey from merely existing to truly living begins with a single decision, taking full control and responsibility for the direction of your life, regardless of your personal circumstances. This isn't about controlling outcomes, but about owning your responses. It means recognizing that while external events may happen without your consent, the meaning you assign to them remains entirely within your own control. You can implement these lessons starting today. Begin with mortality awareness by creating a visual reminder of life's brevity, perhaps a calendar marking significant anniversaries, or a simple quote where you'll see it daily. This awareness will naturally clarify priorities and eliminate trivial concerns. To examine your mental operating system, set aside time this week to identify one belief that guides your decisions. Ask yourself, did I consciously choose this belief? Does it expand or contract my understanding of others? Does it create freedom or limitation? Document your reflections and repeat this process regularly with different beliefs. Practice embracing impermanence by intentionally acknowledging the temporary nature of what you value. When you hold something precious, a relationship, an achievement, even a simple pleasure, mentally note, this too shall pass. This practice doesn't diminish joy, but deepens it, allowing you to appreciate experiences more fully, precisely because they won't last forever. To discover purpose through service, identify 3 problems you care deeply about solving. And consider your unique skills, your experiences, your perspectives. Where do these circles overlap? That intersection reveals your distinctive contribution. Start small, helping one person with one specific challenge, and build from there. Cultivate the dual perspective by creating a daily practice that honors both present gratitude and future vision. Spend 5 minutes every morning appreciating what exists in your life right now, followed by 5 minutes visualizing what you're working to create. This balanced approach prevents both stagnation and perpetual dissatisfaction. When implemented together, these principles create a fundamental shift in your life. You move from being a passive recipient of circumstances to becoming an active creator of your own life experience. You develop the capacity to find meaning in difficulty, purpose in challenge. You learn to appreciate the journey of life without sacrificing the destination. The moments of your life constantly speak to you through your discontent, your joy, and everything between. Your boredom points to areas where you need greater challenge. Your anxiety reveals values you fear might be threatened. Your excitement highlights directions aligned with your authentic self. Your peace confirms choices that resonate with your deepest wisdom. The question isn't whether your life is speaking to you, it's whether you're listening. Most people never pause long enough to hear this guidance. They remain too distracted by noise, too focused on accumulation, too concerned with others' expectations, to recognize the wisdom already available within their own lived experience. You don't need more information. You need greater attention to the information you already have. Your life has been teaching you these lessons all along, waiting for you to notice. The wisdom you seek has always been available in your successes and failures, your joys and sorrows, your connections and losses. The path forward isn't about acquiring something new, but about recognizing what's already present. It's about removing the distractions that prevent you from hearing what your life has been trying to tell you all along. When you finally listen, you discover that the answers you've been seeking were always there, waiting patiently for you to become quiet enough to just hear them. I hope and pray that you will live a life which actually is meaningful to you, where you solve a problem for people who actually have a great need which only you can solve better than everybody else. And towards the end of your life, that you have no regrets. Thank you.